Scott Ryan, thanks for joining me. Back in the saddle after a couple weeks vacation. It's amazing how much things change. I just a few weeks before I left, the talk that was circulating was how much damage would these scandals surrounding the Obama administration, all of the abuse of the federal agencies, outright manipulation and assaults on the rights of American citizens, how much that would hurt Obama was the question rhetorically being asked. And also, how long would it be before Eric Holder would resign as Attorney General? And I said back then it wasn't going to happen because this president is like no other. No other swindler or scoundrel who's ever held political office. I mean, usually when someone is in the middle of major scandals in a top level, not even just the presidency, but in Congress, Senate, they generally are somewhat timid and try to change the subject and deflect things. Not this guy. As I said before, he goes on the offense. And I said there is no way Obama would accept a Holder resignation. He would not accept any minimal amount of defeat. And the whole point is that once he comes out with no compromise, no matter what scandals surround him and for which he is caught, when he gets away with everything and with no consequences whatsoever, he has further empowered himself like never before. All these scandals, by the fact that they were around and being talked about in the conservative media and not so much in the mainstream media, but the gravity that they had, the momentum that they had, was the most ever since this administration took office in 2008. And we were so sure that it was going to have consequences. But now it's disappeared. And he has deflected it masterfully. I mean, this guy has the potential of doing more evil than anyone, any dictator in world history, as he comes out of these scandals just totally unblemished. He gains so much power by being exposed of all these things by virtue of the fact that it has faded away and he has given nothing, no compromise, not a slap on the wrist. And that's because checks and balances, the gift that our founding fathers gave us, one of the fundamental principles upon which this country was founded to prevent tyranny, again, was checks and balances. And it is dead because all we have, I mean, we shouldn't even be talking impeachment right now. The cowards and traitors that we have masquerading as Republicans in the top committees and positions of leadership, they shouldn't even be talking about impeachment. They should be talking about criminal prosecution of this president. Impeachment, they think that's too radical, but in reality, it is wholly inadequate. If our founding fathers, if anybody were still in office in those places that they hold for the first 100 years of this nation, the first 150 years at least of this nation, were sitting in judgment of Obama right now, this man would be fighting for his life, literally. We would be talking about the question of whether capital punishment should be sought in the courts, of course. But these people are such cowards. Your John McCain and Lindsey Graham and Marco Rubio, these people are such self-seeking, legacy-seeking, ignoble cowards that they will not stand up for anything. All they care, they don't want to risk anything, despite the glaring crimes and effrontery that has been perpetrated. All the circumstantial evidence and all of the empirical evidence adds up to nothing less than deliberate sabotage of this country. Everything, every single office being abused. I mean, we've heard about the IRS and the NSA, and now about the Department of Justice, of course, spending our tax dollars, Obama sending people to Florida to foment discontent and to raise awareness and to mislead people into thinking that this was a civil rights case. He's doing everything that he can to sabotage. But these are just the agencies that we've seen so far. If you uncover every rock, you will see his fingerprints under them. You can look at the Not just the IRS and the NSA and the DOJ. Look at the FCC, the SEC, you name it. He is using it masterfully and abusing it, using it to destroy our Constitution and to destroy our liberties. And nothing's being done. And there really can't be anything done as long as we have these cowards. And I know John McCain has a history as a war hero because he was a POW. And that is wonderful, and thank you. But guess what? You can't rest on your laurels and betray your country year after year, decade after decade after that, and think that that's going to get you a pass. Benedict Arnold was by far a greater war hero than John McCain as a general before he betrayed his country, ultimately, and went down in ignominy. Infamy, I should say. That would be easier. The only thing that can be done, and it's just amazing that Republicans keep electing these people like McCain and Lindsey Graham and Marco Rubio and a few others. The only thing that can be done, and I suggest that South Carolina take the leadership on this, is to recall these bums, because there is not enough time. We need checks and balances. This nation is done without them. And these people, our congressmen and senators, are supposed to be our line of defense. They're not doing their job. They're too concerned about their careers. That's all they care about. I know South Carolina. I've lived there in Greenville, home of Jim DeMint, in my childhood briefly. I love that state. I have a great affinity for it, and that is by far the most conservative state in this union. If you look at their House and Senate, state legislatures, governor, state legislators and their governor, and the federal congressmen and senators that they send, except for Lindsey Graham, this is by far the state that everybody should be looking to for leadership. I don't know how you explain Lindsey Graham, but it is time to make amends. The guy has to be removed, and we cannot wait for him to come up a few years later for re-election. He finds religion, so to speak, when it comes down to re-election time. He talks conservative. But there's no time. It's time for South Carolina to step up. Get this guy out of here. I don't know about Arizona. I don't know if it can happen with McCain. But the time is now. Thank you for joining me. I'm Scott Ryan.